Greetings, you're listening to the Cold Call Lawcast, the Minnesota Law School podcast featuring students from the University of Minnesota Law School, the University of St. Thomas School of Law, and the Mitchell-Hamlin School of Law. Welcome everyone to the Cold Call Lawcast. I'm Mitch, a law student from the University of St. Thomas School of Law, and with me are my co-hosts Hannah.
Hey.
From the University of Minnesota Law School, Anthony from the Mitchell-Hamlin School of Law.
Hello.
And Abby from the U of M.
Hello.
On today's podcast, we're going to be nerding out, and later we'll be speaking to Jacob Peterson, a 1L from the Mitchell-Hamlin School of Law, and a fellow podcaster as well. But before we begin, I wanted to talk to my co-hosts. I want to ask you guys, what's kind of the nerdiest thing that you're into, either that you're into right now or that you were in the past? Let's start with Abby over here.
I'm thinking on the spot here, which thing is the nerdiest thing? We were just talking about Magic the Gathering earlier, but in like how much I'm into the thing, I would say maybe metal is the nerdiest thing. Metal music. Okay. Yeah.
Like hardcore rock, metal.
Not rock, just metal.
Like math metal?
Sure, that's the kind of metal that I like sometimes. Yeah.
Like metal made by nerds.
Yeah. I mean, all of it. Most of it.
Elaborate.
You know when people go in the woods to take their metal album cover photo shoot and like are dressed up in the snow? That's the best. That makes me so happy.
Really?
Yeah. And there's just, yeah, I mean, I started the metal show like a year and a half ago and I'm done now. It was probably 2 years ago. And I passed it on to someone else, but I learned so much about all the different kinds of metal. And I love
like
Chelsea
aluminum,
Wolf. Yeah. Aluminum.
Iron
Maiden.
See, and the thing is, though, is when I first met you, I didn't think of you as a metal girl at all. I thought you maybe like indie or like alternative.
I could see indie, yeah.
I like that stuff too.
But
maybe indie, maybe alternative. What does that even mean?
But definitely metal.
Yeah, I like
right?
metal.
Okay.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting.
Anthony?
I don't know. I was trying to brainstorm it too. I think the nerdiest thing that I was really into at one point was like Harry Potter. Like I just loved. I grew up with the Harry Potter books, so I always loved the Harry Potter stuff. And Abby and I were talking before the show, and we were talking about how
Abby, your wife.
No, Abby, fellow podcaster.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, so you weren't talking to your wife about this.
No. But no, they have this app called Pottermore, or it's on the computer or something, and you can like figure out what house you belong to and what your Patronus is and stuff. And we determined that, or I did the test, and I think I was a Ravenclaw, and my Patronus was a vole, which is like an oversized, engorged rat, which really bummed me out because I was with all my friends when I did it. And like my fiance Abby, she doesn't know Harry Potter like at all, like hardly ever. She didn't watch any of the movies, and she took the thing and she got Gryffindor, and her Patronus was a Thestral, which really pissed me off.
Wait, what's a Thestral?
It's like those invisible horses.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Except
Sorry, I didn't know the.
That you can only see once you witness death.
Yes,
which to be fair,
which is
like,
weird because now
so
it's
badass.
like, well,
Right.
has she witnessed death?
She has witnessed death.
The most metal Patronus.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's like super nerdy because like
No,
I feel like a lot
it's
of
nerdy. Come on,
I
Harry
don't know.
Potter. Harry Potter's pretty nerdy.
As time passes, it's becoming nerdier again.
But let's be honest. But I think being nerdy has become a lot more mainstream recently. I mean, Harry Potter is nerdy, but people are like, yeah, but does it matter? I mean, it's still a great series of books, and so
for sure.
I place a distinction on nerdy versus dorky. And I would put Harry Potter fully into the dork category. Nerdy to me, I mean, metal also is on the edge because nerdy to me means something with a little bit more of like an academic bent to it, like people who are really into,
I felt like Dungeons and Dragons or World of Warcraft.
That's more nerdy.
That's what I
feel like
was
dorky
nerdy.
is like more likely to get you shoved in a locker.
I
nerdy.
might shove Anthony in a locker if he started talking to me about Pottermore. And I love Harry Potter.
And I literally think she would throw you. She could throw you into a locker.
And I think that's
what
probably
she would
take it too.
Tried earlier, but I couldn't remember the combination.
Now, Anthony, I'm going to make you a little jealous, given that you're a big Harry Potter fan. So, do you remember where Harry Potter learned how to fly?
Yeah.
that location.
Yeah.
I lived in that castle for a summer.
Really?
Where he learned, it's Anna Castle. No, it's very funny. And it's St. Cloud State University, where I did my undergraduate. They have a study abroad there at Anna Castle, which is the location, that huge keep there.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually lived in that kind of where what they had as a drawbridge.
Oh, okay.
I lived in that little loft that was up above there. Yeah, I lived there for a couple months. Yeah,
That'd be so cool to live in Hogwarts.
So Hannah, what I guess for you, what is both the nerdiest thing and the dorkiest thing that you're into?
And make the distinction.
Well, being a lifelong fantasy and sci-fi nerd, I would put fantasy in the dork category, along with Harry Potter and all of these books that I love. And then sci-fi in the nerdy category, especially hard sci-fi, like Alistair Reynolds sort of type, where they'll spend like 50 pages kind of describing theoretical futuristic like spaceship drives and stuff. And
I guess I could see that as nerdy.
Yeah, I'd say that's, for me, that's more in the nerdy category.
So would you consider like Doctor Who then? That's like sci-fi.
Well, dorky. No.
What? Really? I feel like that's pretty nerdy.
I'm sorry to my roommate who loves Doctor Who, but Doctor Who's dorky.
I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, if you've ever seen anyone with a Doctor Who tattoo, you'll know what I'm talking about.
That does seem pretty dorky to have a Doctor Who tattoo.
Yeah. But
Let's pull down my sleeves.
Sci-fi, if it's sufficiently connected to like physics and astronomy, which I also love, which probably also is like my, one of my nerdier interests.
Gotcha.
Yeah, looking at like planet transits and like all of the Kepler mission, finding all those
yeah, it's pretty nerdy.
possible planets.
And is that why you got your minor in astronomy when you were at Arizona? Because you liked sci-fi so much, or they just kind of go hand in hand?
I had bridged the gap by that point. I had taken astronomy in high school as a class because we were lucky in Rochester. We had like a planetarium in the school system and one dedicated astronomy teacher for the district. So I got to take a class. And to me, like sci-fi, in a lot of the ways that it's written, a lot of like kinds of sci-fi are more than fiction. They're more like alternative futures.
Mm-hmm.
In the way that I think about it. Some people write like alternative history. A lot of sci-fi to me is like, it's just, a lot of these things theoretically are possible. The things that are like, make it fiction.
Right.
Yeah. What about you, Mitch?
So, I mean, for me, I'm not into anything dorky or nerdy. You guys are
okay,
losers.
Tuba.
Okay? Whoa, holy cow. I didn't realize you guys were so nerdy. No, I
just said holy cow.
That's pretty dorky.
That's
that was a dorky phrase. So I've actually really like Star Trek, and specifically Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm a huge Star Trek: The Next Generation fan, and so I've probably seen every single episode at least 3 times. So
it's a good one.
That's the one I'm really into. So I thought the original Star Trek was pretty good, but I definitely like The Next Generation much better. And I used to watch it with my fam. Yeah.
See, I never got into Star Trek. I never watched any of the episodes.
I
I just know that William Shatner was in it.
Well, he wasn't in Next Gen. He was in the original.
He was
Star
in the
Trek.
original.
Jean-Luc Picard. Patrick Stewart
Patrick
is
Stewart
Next
was
Gen.
in it. Yeah.
I have a brief story about Star Trek discrimination. So a few years ago, I was at the gym, and you know how there's a bunch of TVs. So I would always change as many of them as I could to Star Trek, because often I was there when they were playing it on BBC. And one of the times I was like sitting on one of the exercise bikes, just biking away, watching Star Trek, and a guy came up and just grabbed the remote from like the chair where I was sitting.
Really?
And like started to change it, and I like looked at him. He was like, "You weren't watching that, were you?" And I was like, "Yes, I was actually." And he was like, "No, you're just saying that because you're mad that I took this, aren't you? Like, there's no way you were actually watching that."
Wow.
And I was like,
What the
excuse
heck?
me. Yes, I was. And I grabbed it and I gave him a dirty look and he went away.
Nice. Okay.
Wow.
Show him. So
Yeah.
don't mess with Hannah and her Star Trek. Is
Don't
what you're saying?
assume you know what a Star Trek fan looks like or does, you know. It's nerds everywhere. I saw some at the Renaissance Festival. I saw 4 Trekkies.
Woo.
Wait, there were Trekkies at the Renaissance Festival?
Yeah, no, they love to do that.
They
Think
dress-
about like all of the next gen
See, that's dorky.
episodes.
That is dorky. Yeah, that's kind of dorky. That's going beyond nerdy to dorky.
But think about all of the next gen episodes where they go to like, you know, more
but they
primitive planets.
But they don't
or
dress in their like actual outfits. They change so that they blend in and they don't
When they first
contaminate
arrive.
the culture. Everybody knows that, Hannah. Come on.
when they first arrive, though, when they get plunked down, they can be in their cool little suits.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wait, so have any of you guys ever been to like any Comic Cons or anything?
Oh, I wish. Like
I
a
have
Comic Con, not like a Star Trek convention, but a Comic Con.
Like an actual Comic Con?
I haven't. I'd love to go to the San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah, I think so. That'd be pretty cool.
Too many dorks.
You wouldn't fit in?
No, I would totally go.
Before we begin, please visit us on social media at Cold Call Lawcast. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Tell us what you think of our podcast or ask us a question. If Hannah wants to answer.
Welcome back to the Cold Call Lawcast. Sitting with us here today is Jacob Peterson, a 1L from Mitchell Hamlin, and a fellow podcaster as well. But first, I kind of wanted to talk about how you got to Mitchell Hamlin. So kind of why did you decide to go to law school in the first place? And then what was your process of applying to Mitchell Hamlin?
Well, hello, my name is Jake. I decided to go to law school. Basically, it was kind of a thing that came up in my last semester of undergrad when I realized that I really, really, really didn't want to be an academic historian.
Yeah.
So because after taking a couple research methods class, I realized that I would be spending my entire life locked up in archives. That's not the life I want to live. I wanted to affect the real world, so I kind of just started desperately searching around for what you could do with a history degree that wasn't get a PhD. Turns out there's not much. Law school was one of the few options, so I kind of made up my mind that I'll go to law school eventually then, but at that point I was so burnt out on school that I went out into the real world for a while. I ended up at Medicare for almost a year, a Medicare contractor doing Part A appeals. One of the worst jobs I've ever had. I hated that place. And anybody who says Medicare for all doesn't realize that it's just the same corporation. Like, it was owned by the same company that ran Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's just the same corporations running the whole thing.
Oh,
Right, there's like
Public-private partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens.
Yep. So you put it out to the lowest bidder, and then the lowest bidder gets the lowest bidding contractor, and then the lowest bidding contractor gets a bad job. But paid the bills, so that's all that mattered. Then after that, I went on to, worked for 3 years at U.S. Bank doing debit card disputes, which was a really good setup for law school, I think. Just getting in there, they have a lot of procedural rules to do, so just having a little bit of stuff in with that, and then also having case argumentation. And then after a few years, some personal adventures, I eventually decided last Christmas 2017, that I just was sitting on the floor in my aunt's house, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to law school. I'm going to make this happen. So,
wow.
So I get home around New Year's, and I sign up for the LSAT on the last possible day, and just hit the books.
How much studying did you do for it?
I guesstimated to about 1,000 questions spread across, like doing some questions at work and doing practice tests on the weekends, like full practice tests with all the timing and whatnot. So.
And how did that turn out for you?
I got a 170, so pretty well.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I was testing at 165, but I apparently just got an easy LSAT. So.
And why did you decide to go to Mitchell Hamlin?
I've been living in Fargo the last few years, and I really liked living there, so I wanted to go to a more local school and then move back and practice there because there's a lot of legal openings there as well. So I applied to UND, Mitchell Hamlin, and U of M. And then I went to the one that gave the best scholarship. I'm a bit of a mercenary like that.
I think that's kind of a big for everybody, was going to the place where you get the best scholarship. That seems to definitely be in this time of age where you make your decision.